folks. Welcome to the Seven Figure Network podcast. Today, I've got Johnnie Davis with me. And as you guys know, I love interviewing folks like Johnnie because he has worked on both sides of the fence. He has not only been a hyper successful rep, but he's also working as an executive for a company. And he's actually going to talk to you about a new and upcoming company he's working with some cool opportunities. We're not trying to pitch you on anything, but we want you to know how the industry is changing. And especially after these couple last years, we've all seen the weird up and down that the industry has done. So in order to launch a new company, very cool stuff has to happen. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Johnnie's past, how he got into the industry, and just generally what is going on with network marketing today that's going to make you more successful than anything else. So, Johnnie, thanks so much for being on today. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and privilege to be here.
Thank you, Johnnie. So tell me, let's start right from scratch. I don't like to tell anybody else's story because I know I'm never going to do as good a job. So do me a favor and just tell me what got you into the industry in the first place.
You know, it goes back to 1996. I was sitting in my cubicle at work. I used to work in the health insurance industry. And I can remember sitting in that cubicle one day, and I was just thinking to myself, after listening to a couple of my coworkers that were talking, these individuals happened to be old enough to be my mom and dad. And they were just talking about how much they hated the job and how they were so looking forward to retirement. And they would just come to work every single day, just complaining and complaining. And so I'm sitting at my cubicle and I'm like, you know what? If I have to do this for the next 40 years, someone just kill me right now. Right? So that was my mindset. And so, you know, just as fate would have it, a friend of mine told me about an opportunity that was taking place at somebody's house that I went to. I didn't know this guy from a can of paint. I told about his house because they said that, you know, every time somebody made a phone call, you can get paid. When they pay their phone bill, you get paid. When they turn on their gas and electric, you can get paid. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? What kind of business is this? I go to this guy's house. I show up. That was a PBR, or private business reception, home meeting. Didn't know what I was going to. I was just young and green, and I was excited. And I went there. I looked at the information, looked at the opportunity. I got to tell you, I really didn't even understand everything I saw, but I knew enough that it made sense, and I was fired up, and I got started because they painted a picture of what my life could be by taking advantage of this. And everything they said in terms of having the time freedom, the lifestyle, being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it, with whoever you want to do it with, for long as you want to do it without having to worry about money, that was music to my young ears. Because no one had told me that. I had gone to school, I got my degree in marketing, I went to one of the best business schools in the country, but they never taught me about entrepreneurship. They taught me about how to go get a job. And so these guys were telling me how to own my own time, run my own business, and be in control of my own destiny. Sign me up. And that's how I got started. I was 24 years old.
So you got in without any knowledge what the industry was about. How'd that first month go?
The first month, I got to be honest with you, I didn't make a ton of money. I made a little bit of money. Right? Because I introduced a couple of people that saw the vision, and they said, you know what, we're in. So I made a little bit of money, and I got excited because, you know what? I said, if I can make a little bit of money, I can add another zero onto this check. Because back then we got checks, we didn't get direct deposits. And, you know, I can add another zero. And so I didn't make a ton of money, but I was excited because it worked. What they told me to do, I did it and it worked.
Gotcha. And how long did it take you to actually really start getting traction in the industry when you felt like, you know what, I made the right decision, goodbye cubicle?
Wow. That didn't happen until 2003. 2003. So I tell people sometimes, you know, it can take some folks, and everyone's journey is going to be different. So you can't compare your journey and your experience and your walk in this industry with anyone else's, because you never know what that person's bringing to the table. I was 24 years old. I didn't know a thing about anything. So I had to go through this learning process. I had to grow into the person that I became in 2003 so I could walk away from the job. I wasn't ready to walk away in 1999. I was too green. I didn't understand what I was doing, but I was a full adult. By the time I retired, I was 31 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me 7 years, from 1996 to 2003 to gain that traction and say, okay, I'm done with this.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. We're going to talk a little bit more about building, then we're going to go to the other side. What was your key to retention for your team? This is a question I love to ask because everybody has a different way of getting their team to feel comfortable and keep building. So when you were really hitting your stride and things were building strong, what would you say was the key to retention for your team? What were you doing that was a little bit different than everybody else?
Strong culture. We created a strong culture. It was a culture of success. And culture that we built was such that it wasn't just about going out and selling the product or selling the services and generating the money. Okay, that was the byproduct of what we did. But we really invested in the individual and really focused on making them better people. Whether you became a superstar in this industry or not, you still had to be a better man or woman for society. Yeah. And we talked about a collective. We talked about a mission of every single person doing their part, doing his or her part to contribute to the overall mission. Back then, our mission was to create 1,000 millionaires. And the reason why we had to create 1,000 millionaires is because we wanted to be able to do some things in our community. Mm-hmm. We wanted to be able to be self-funded and didn't have to borrow money from the banks and private lenders and so on and so forth, hard money lenders or what have you. We wanted to be a self-funded entity to be able to do the things that we wanted to do. So our philosophy was more of a collective body working toward a specific goal versus, you just becoming a millionaire and taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. You becoming a millionaire and taking care of you and your family. Well, you're going to do that by default. But if you think bigger, think collective and not individual.
Yeah,
that's how we were able to build a strong culture, and people stayed. And even the folks that weren't making a ton of money, they bought into the vision of what we were doing and why we were doing it.
Yeah. So we talked about retention. What was your key to growing your team? Because it's, now it's a different time now, because back when you were growing, it was a little bit before Skype. Or Skype, I'm still talking old school. Zoom, it shows you how old I am. I'm talking about Skype instead of Zoom. Back then it was a lot more belly to belly. Was that your growth secret, was to keep it as a real belly to belly thing? Were you more an events kind of guy? What was your growth strategy for your team?
At that time, belly to belly events. Mm-hmm. Belly got to get in front of you. We need to get in front of you, and we need to have events, right? Yeah. Because this is where you create the energy. Mm-hmm. Transference of energy takes place at the events, and everyone's talking about. So if you're on the outside looking in, you're saying, "Oh, well, it's a bunch of hot hoopla, rah, rah," But you know what? I got to tell you, that's part of it. Mm-hmm. It's the energy that's created. Why do people go to football games?
Yeah.
Why do people go to basketball games and hockey games?
Right.
There's a lot of rah, rah energy there too, right?
Exactly.
But everyone's watching the players. The players are getting paid, but everyone's in the stands. They're freaking out, going crazy. They're not getting paid.
Right.
They're actually paying the players.
Yeah.
Well, everyone has a role to play. Mm-hmm. All of that energy is needed. So in our industry, this is what makes it so fun. And it's also what makes it so believable. Mm-hmm. There has to be a transference of energy, my belief to you, and vice versa. Because you're going to come across people that may not necessarily have the belief that you have, the knowledge you have, the understanding that you have. But you know what? If they could borrow some of your energy and borrow the energy that's in the room, people make decisions. Like when I went to the guy's house, I made a decision, not necessarily based on my level of understanding what I saw, but I looked around the room and I saw everyone else, their eyes lit up. They saw it. It made sense. They were getting fired up. And I said, well, hell, I need to get fired up too. And so, that energy is needed so much. So that was one of the cornerstones. Belly to belly events. It's the key.
So what would you teach your folks now? Now that you're in more of an executive role, now that you're a little less in the field, what would you say is the excitement for now? What's the excitement to get people excited? Because now you have to excite a whole team or a whole company now. Now that you're wearing the executive hat, it's an entire universe of folks you have to get excited. So give me a one or two, I'm not going to limit you, but give me one or two tips that you hand down the line for what's going on today. What would you do for excitement today to keep your folks engaged, moving forward, and trying to change the world as they've done, up until this lockdown craziness?
Well, one of the things that we do is actually, we make sure that we reach out to everyone and have these virtual events and create as much energy as we possibly can, having everyone kind of get to know each other. And when I say know each other, like really not just, hey, my name is Johnnie Davis and I'm Charlotte, North Carolina. No, like really start to develop relationships with your team. Individually reach out to people and spend some time going over your life, not just the business, but hey, let me find out a little bit about you. So tell me about yourself. Tell me about why did you get started in this company? What are you looking to get out of it? Like really kind of take people through what we call a game plan interview, so to speak, and really do a deep dive into their desires, their needs, their wants, their family. Really get to know them. You have to do that because this is one of the things I think, especially during this pandemic, we've gotten away from the human connection. Obviously, we're all home. People are afraid. Where everything that is vital to the survival of the culture building in our industry, we're going against it. We're wearing masks. We're 6 feet apart. No one's talking to each other. Everyone's afraid to say anything. I'm afraid to get too close to you because you might be infected or I might be infected. And so all these weird things are going through our minds. So the best thing that we can do is to create as much virtual energy as we possibly can by having forums like this. So meet with your team, meet with your group, and take the time to really find out what is going on with people, right? What do they really want? Like we got to bring it back to the human connection. We're so high tech now and low touch, but we've got to find a way to kind of bridge the gap again and make it high touch because we can't get rid of the people factor. Unless you're doing something that you could just do from your smartphone and it doesn't require you to talk to anybody per se. If you're in the space of direct sales and you have a product or incredible service, especially a product that you really want people to get excited about, well, I got to talk to you. You got to see me. You have to hear my story. You got to hear my passion. You got to see my story in my face. You got to see my passion. You got to see that I'm real and I'm not just some meme or a phone call or a text message, but I'm a real person with real feelings, a real mission in life, a real purpose. And if I can connect with you, then we can build something special. So this is what I teach everyone. Do not fall into the trap of just posting memes and pictures and stuff. Like take the time, 30 minutes or so, talk with your team, talk with people, and let them see you physically. Develop that relationship just like this. Because one day the world is going to open back up. And we're going to be able to get back and resume the things that we were doing. And you're going to see the explosion happen because everyone is ready. They're perfectly positioned right now. And they're poised to get out of their home and to do something. But they want to do something with somebody they know, like, and trust.
Yeah, exactly right. Man, you made a perfect point, and it's something that so few people talk about. It's so important to our industry right now. There's a very weird trend going on now, and for the last couple of years, where people don't talk to each other anymore. It's like, you and I are outgoing, friendly guys. I mean, it's just how we are. So if I'm at Publix, I look at people and I smile. If I'm out in the streets, I just how I am. I look at people, I smile, I say hello. I'm just that kind of guy. I can tell you're that kind of guy too. And that seems to be completely disconnected now. People who can, even people whose eyes you can see, that's a friendly person. I mean, again, when you've been in the industry for as long as we have, you can tell in a half a second by somebody's eyes, whether they're happy, friendly, sad, whatever they are. You see people that are happy and they don't communicate. And I think you raised a perfect point because this is going to make it even more powerful for people who can do what you're saying. The people are complaining about the internet noise, but the noise is only the internet. It's not with people talking to each other because they're not even when they're physically next to each other, they're not carrying on conversations, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, but they're not carrying on conversations. So what you just said seems to be the greatest superhero power you could have right now. It's just being out there, right?
Absolutely. We gotta connect. This pandemic, this is the loop that has thrown us off for because our industry is so much. Hey, give me a hug. Oh my God, good to see you. I mean, that's what drove me to be a part of this industry for so many years. I love that. I love changing people's lives. I love looking into people's eyes, and I love watching people go from zero to hero. I love watching people see the light bulb just click, and they have massive success, and they evolve, and they become like great speakers and great coaches, and they're changing lives. But the only way you can effectively do that is to be amongst people. Yeah. Right? That's the only way you can do it. So the pandemic forced us all to stay home. And on top of that, now we become fearful and afraid.
Yep.
And when you're dealing with that emotional trauma and the emotional stress, and everywhere you go, everyone has on a mask and everyone's like so afraid. Well, okay, I want to talk to you, but don't get too close to me. Stand 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
Stay away from me. That is anti-direct sales. That's anti-network marketing.
Yeah.
So the only way to kind of circumvent that is to do what we're doing right now. But just understand and believe and know that at some point in time, the world's going to open back up.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be this way. So I need to be able to work on my skills of connecting, talking with people, talking with you, not at you, right? And we have a mutually beneficial, valuable conversation that we're having with one another. We're exchanging ideas. I'm learning about you. You're learning about me. Whatever differences that we might have, we can still agree or disagree, and we can do so in love.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to hate you. You're not my enemy or what have you. And then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
I love it, man. Love it. Hey, we didn't even talk about this before, but I'm wondering, do you think it's gotten better or worse as far as international growth goes? You know, because again, now you're on the corporate side more than the, grinding away trying to build your team side. How do you think this has affected international growth, expansion, and retention? Having because now, I mean, if it's hard enough for two Americans not to be able to talk to each other, what's it going to be like if you're trying to talk to an Australian, or even more so somebody who speaks a different language? Are you guys dealing with any of those sort of issues now?
Well, right now, our company, we're building domestically here in the States. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're focused 100% here in the States.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So we're not international as of yet. That's something that's definitely going to come.
Oh, yeah.
Capture the market share here first. But I would imagine, internationally, they're probably having their own challenges as well, because, you have different countries that are at different places when it comes to their restrictions, when it comes to this pandemic and things of that nature. Yeah. And how those people in those different countries, how they interact and relate to one another, and how from a society standpoint, we got to kind of bring it back to just the basics of how people are actually communicating socially. Like, what's your views on certain things, and that determines whether or not, well, am I going to talk to this person or not? Scroll on their social media, I'm going to see what they're about. So whether you're here in the States or whether you're in a different country, people kind of look and see, like, all right, well, what are you into? What's your thought process? Let me see if we can connect on something. Do we have a common ground somewhere? And like I said, I think internationally and domestically, it works the same way. Mm-hmm. How are we dealing with each other from a social standpoint? Yeah. That's huge. And for many years, as you know, before social media, we didn't have access to so much information. We didn't have access to all of this different news that's coming at us all day, every day, 24 hours a day. So that's the internet noise. And many of us, you and I, we can do this. We can shut it off. We can disconnect from that. But many people cannot. Yeah. Yep. It's a challenge. It's been challenging for a lot of people to be able to do that. And this is why you see people suffering with all different types of stress. And there's such an emphasis now on mental health, self-care, taking care of yourself. Because if you're glued to this all day, and you're just getting a steady diet of just negativity all day long, right, it affects you. Yeah. We don't realize just how much all of this stuff has penetrated our world now. Whereas before, we were able to protect people from that. Don't watch the news. Put down the newspaper. Don't watch that. Yeah, this is what you want to listen to. Pop this in your car. Make your car drive time university. These are the things that you want to watch, and you just want to feed your mind positivity. You want to fortify your thinking and protect your energy. We were able to teach people that. So it's become a little bit more challenging now to do that because of the noise. But we get back to helping people block out that noise. We'll be fine.
Yeah. It's funny. I like to joke that our generation is the last of the library card generation. We're the last people that actually had library cards. And if you wanted to learn everything about the world, you had to go to a big brick building, had to pull out your little card. But the other side of the joke is you didn't have to open that book. You could close it. You could turn off the news because it was only on at 11 o'clock at night. Absolutely. That's the difference between what we grew up with. There was news at 8 o'clock in the morning, noon, and 11 o'clock at night. If you didn't catch one of those three, you were good. You were safe. And then, of course, Ted Turner decided that we needed to have news 12 hours, 24 hours a day, which God bless Ted. It changed the world by having 24-hour news, but it made it harder to turn it off. And now, like you said, it's practically impossible. I'm thankful that people around our age still have the ability to put a phone down, but you don't have to get too many generations younger than us to get that sticky glue on there, and that thing just never goes away. So how are we going to help these folks disconnect? And again, I'm talking to you from the corporate standpoint now. You as one of the guys who's running a company that's trying to change the world, what do you think is the next step to try and get folks to start getting back into being together again? And this might be an impossible question. I'm asking you a hard one.
Well, I think it all comes back to, once the world starts to kind of open back up and we go to having live events.
Yeah.
Because as long as we're still home, as long as we're still kind of isolated and separated and operating in our own silos, it's still going to be a little challenging. And we're still going to have to rely on this type of technology to really build and connect. Right? Yeah. But I think that we'll be able to kind of get people to break down those walls as things open up more. And I think it's starting to happen now. You're starting to see more people come out and companies are having events, and we're looking to start having our own events as well. And I think you're going to start to see those walls come down. Now, from a generational standpoint, you touched on something that was very important. You and I, we're from that era where if I wanted to talk to you, I'll pick up the phone and say, hey, man, how are you? I'm not just going to sit there and text you to death. Right? I'm going to pick up the phone. We did old school 3-way calls. It wasn't text messaging. The younger demographic, they're growing up in a totally different way. They're connecting and communicating. Is this, I don't want to talk to you. They're lacking that skill of being able to talk to someone. And maybe they don't even think that is worth even knowing that skill. But we've got to be able to teach, just keep putting it out there by way of videos and video training and putting that type of training on apps. So, okay, if you're on your phone all day, well, why don't you download this app? It's going to teach you how to speak. It's going to teach you how to connect. It's going to teach you some things that you want to say. Just basic skills that you and I learned years ago. We're going to still have to kind of put that information out there, because I think for the past couple of years, the whole society took 2 steps backward.
I concur.
We took 2 steps backward in terms of just being good humans. So now we have to teach people how to just be a good human being, how to be a decent person. Yeah. Decent person 101. And we have to disseminate that information down to even the younger demographics of people, just from a connection standpoint. They may be super technical, super advanced when it comes to operating in spaces like the crypto world. Right? You don't need that. You don't need communication skills. You're just a wallet on an app. You download some apps. You're a wallet. You have you're transferring money. That doesn't require too much interpersonal skills. Yep. You can still be successful. I'm not knocking that. Yeah. I'm not knocking that at all. But in our space, in the traditional direct sales, people to people, if you have products that humans need to take or services that humans need to use, and you want to get that person to use that and join your organization, you still have to talk with people. You still have to make them feel like you're valued and you're respected and you're appreciated. That's never going to go away. Until we evolve and become robots, that's never going away. So you can never lose sight of that, regardless of how advanced we become with technology. You can't ever lose sight of the human factor. Yeah,
man, I love that answer so much. I asked you a weird question. You could have answered it any one of 100 ways. And you answered it with the power of the spoken word. That it's the one theme that went through everything you just said is so important. There is so much power in the spoken word that just doesn't get transferred through text, through emails, through any other communication, but hearing the human voice. That was such a great answer. Thank you. Okay, so now I got an even better one for you. What is your 6-month goal? Personal, business, and the company that you're working with.
Wow, 6-month goal, personal, business, and the company. So my personal 6-month goal. Well, there's a couple, but I'll touch on my a health goal that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually been working on transforming my body, and I'm working on enroll. Well, I've already started. I've enrolled for this NPC fitness competition.
Good for you.
Yes.
Congratulations, man. That's a commitment.
Absolutely. I'm a novice. I'm competing in the novice category, 50 and over.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking to slim down 220 pounds now. So I have to slim down to like 190, 195. Mm-hmm. My body fat down to.
Are you doing physique or bodybuilding?
Physique.
Good for you. Congratulations.
We're doing swimming trunks.
Yeah, good for you.
And so, and I also, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I just turned 50 last month. And I always wanted to push my body to the limit because I am a heart failure and sudden cardiac arrest survivor. My heart stopped for over 16 minutes and I was clinically dead. So I said to myself, when I turn 50, I'm going to do this because when I was diagnosed with heart failure years ago, I was told that that the likelihood of me seeing 50 was slim to none. And it almost happened at age 40 because I had sudden cardiac arrest, died, came back to life, but I survived for the past 10 years and I just reached 50. Yeah. So this is personal for me. Yeah. Because I just want to prove to myself, forget the world. I want to prove to Johnnie Davis that I can do this and that not only were the doctors wrong, but they were wrong in a massive way because I'm 50 and I'm beautiful. So that's a personal goal for me. Yeah. Business-wise, I want to. It kind of ties into the company that I'm working.
No, they can be one and the same. They can be one and the same.
Business-wise, I want to help our company grow. I would love to see us get to the point where we have at least 1,000 new associates in our company between now and the end of the year. And I think that is something that we can definitely do because we have some great things in place, great products. And so I'm working diligently, with the founders and the president of our company, national and sales director of our company to really make that happen.
Gotcha. Johnnie, we're going to have your full bio and everything in the show notes, but do me a favor, in case somebody's watching this on their phone or only get to watch the video, can you tell me how can folks get a hold of you? What's your best way to be contacted?
My best way to be contacted, you can go directly to my website. It's called Succeed with JD, www.succeedwithjd.com.
Beautiful. Okay, perfect. I'm going to ask you one more tough one. 6-year goal.
6-year goal.
Yeah.
Wow. So in 6 years, that puts me at 56 years old.
Yep.
I'm going to be honest with you. At 56 years old, I plan to just step away from everything.
Amen.
Because I've worked hard. I've worked hard since I was 24 years old in this industry. And I told my wife that, I have a number, right? And some people don't have a number. I have some very successful people that are friends of mine, millionaires. And I said, what's your number? They're like, more. I said, what? So give me a number, more. When do you stop?
Yeah.
Like, how much do you need? Really? Right? I have a number. I get to that number. I'm going to shut it down. And I'm going to focus on living my life. I'm going to do more of what makes me happy. I want to spend time, as much time as I possibly can, with my wife. And, we're looking to become parents, first-time parents very soon. And so we're older parents. Mm-hmm. And I just want to be there. We're going to be older parents, and I just want to be there for my son.
Yes.
And just live my life, not necessarily working. Mm-hmm. Even on the corporate side, working with just, and that's just, and you just become so consumed with that.
Yeah.
I want to kind of just take my foot off the gas a little bit and just take the time to smell the roses.
Yeah.
And enjoy life, because one of the things I've learned, and you probably have witnessed this too, is that life is very short. I've lost so many good friends of mine over the past 2 years that have not reached age 50. And you really start to ask yourself, well, what does this all mean? What are we doing? Mm-hmm. And I talk about this on different platforms when I'm talking about the whole near-death experience that I had and all the things I've learned from it. My mindset and how I view life is completely different. Mm-hmm. And most people probably wouldn't understand when I say I want to just put it down and just and love and live life and just live. Mm-hmm. But you do that once you have enough. You have a high enough number when you can do that.
Bingo. Exactly right. Man, I love that answer so much. I know I'm harping on it, but this is one of the reasons why I love talking to reps, top trainers, and executives, because I want people to know that you're a human being and you're speaking from your heart. That answer was from your heart. You've put so much time and effort and work into this industry and to helping other people that once you get to that point where you feel like you're ready, you're going to do it in a very different way. It might not be business, but I guarantee you're still going to be helping people. You're not going to be able to help yourself. You're just that kind of guy.
Absolutely. I mean, I talk to people, I'm a board member of the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Foundation, mm-hmm. because I'm a survivor. Yeah. I would love to spend more time speaking to the survivor community and building that survivor community, because 1 out of 10 people that suffer sudden cardiac arrest actually survive. 1 out of 10. And so there's so much education that needs to go out about what sudden cardiac arrest is, the difference between that and a heart attack. And it's valuable information that people need to know, because it can happen to you. It can happen to a loved one of yours. It can happen to any one of your children. And you need to know exactly how to respond if that situation were to occur to someone, because it can be the difference between that person living and dying. Yeah. And so I want to spend more time getting that information out there to the world. So yeah, I will, when I say walk away, I'm talking about doing the things that make me happy. Yes. And making a difference in the world and helping to save people's lives. Yeah. And so that's what, because I'm here because my wife started the CPR process. Fireman took over from where she left off. Mm-hmm. And, so there was a whole bunch of people that were involved in me still being here today to do this interview with you. And I'm going to continue to pay that forward. Yeah. Because your life matters. Your wife's life matters. And everyone that knows you and loves you, their life matters. Yeah. And so one of our biggest responsibilities as human beings is just to love one another and to help one another. And that's what I want to spend my time doing.
Yeah, love it, man. You have given me answers that have made my day today. So I so appreciate it. Johnnie Davis, thanks so much for being on the 7-Figure Network podcast. Folks, you're going to see Johnny's bio and picture below. As you know, he has started a new company. He's working with a new company. They're looking for new reps. I know he and I were talking about master distributorships. So if anybody's out there looking for a new company or just truly enjoyed listening to Johnny, reach out to him, find out what he's got going on. He's been in the industry for a long time, and I guarantee he can help you. So Johnny, thanks so much for being on today, man. This was a fantastic interview. Really appreciate it, bud.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great day, my friend.
You too.
Hey there. I hope you really enjoyed the show. And now I have a question to ask. Do you want to know how to build a 7-figure network with just 3 to 5 enrollments a month? That's just 3 to 5 conversations, not 30 to 50. That means we only have to convince 3 to 5 people to say yes to build a real 7-figure network. Scan the code or click the link at the bottom of this page now to discover the step-by-step method for exactly how you can add hundreds, if not thousands of customers to your downline by recruiting and enrolling businesses and health professionals onto your team that have hundreds of built-in customers that need your product or opportunity. Get the 7-Figure Network book now, and let's start building massive volume with an enormous downline of businesses, health professionals, and customers.